Hello. Another YouTube video from Darren McAntony, but this time this is going to be part of my playlist, and it's going to be a playlist entitled Owning a Football Club. So obviously I've set up a YouTube channel to talk about business, about money, about sales, about life, but I'm also going to discuss sports. I'm going to cover things about owning a football club, because lots of people always ask me what's it like owning a football club, particularly for somebody who's so young. Well, obviously I'm 43 now, but I did buy a football club when I was like 30 years old. And the title of this episode today is going to be A Day in the Life of a Chairman. It's not going to be a long video. I'm going to try and keep this under 10 minutes because I know, people's attention spans are short and everything else. But I thought I'd give you a bit of insight into what it's like owning a League One football club on any typical day. As you know, I live in Orlando in Florida, so I don't live in the UK, but I obviously go over whenever I can and the days allow me. But I go over next week. I'm over there for like a good 2.5 weeks on football business. But it doesn't mean, as chairman of Peterborough United, that I don't do any work on a day-to-day basis. I actually do quite a bit of work. And to give you an example, it's like, what time is it now? It's 3 o'clock. I'm going to run you through so far today what I've done Peterborough United work-wise. And this just gives for fans out there just a little insight into what's it like owning a football club, how much time do you spend, what effort do you put in. Look, I don't get paid for the job as chairman of Peterborough United, and I don't ask to get paid. I own the club with my partners. It's something I love doing. But this just gives you a little insight into the hours, the minutes, the time that's involved in running a football club. So, for example, first thing this morning, one of the first calls I had when I get up, and I'm 5 hours behind the UK. I'm obviously working in my office in my house at the moment. I between my office downtown I have and my office at home, I'll spend a few days a week at home as well, so I get to see the family, because obviously I travel a lot. Then I'll go into work. So I'm at home today. The gaffer rings me this morning. So he rings me. And what it is, it's not every day that he rings me, but he checks in with me every couple of days. And first things first, he'll say to me how the lads are, how training was. Like the other day, he rang me up. He was moaning about, the start of training. He had to ball out the lads and get them into the workflow of the day and things like that, because they had a couple of days off, which at this time of the year has been a bit of a godsend. And we talk about, obviously, today, yesterday, he runs me through the sessions. Sometimes he'll even send me, via the analyst, footage, and the partners, he'll send footage of the training session he's done at the ground, which is fantastic. It's great to see that. So we discussed the players today. He'll run me through any injuries, any issues with the players, if there's any personal problems, any work-related problems, things like that. Then we'll talk about, he was at games the other night. He obviously, some of the coaching staff went to games. We'll talk about the players that they went to watch, because obviously we're in that scouting period going forward for recruitment for next season. We talk about basically if I've had conversations with agents, if Barry has, if the manager's met any of the players. And at the moment, we're going through a process where there's some out-of-contract players now that you can actually have a chat with and a chat with their agents, because you can pre-sign them now for the summer. So probably spent 30, 40 minutes on the telephone, talk about our families, talk about life, slag each other off, that kind of banter. So that was a great call. Nothing over exciting today. He was filling me in where he's off to tomorrow, and obviously the players are off tomorrow because we don't have a game. And then talking about next week and the importance of it, and the players have got to be on it, because we're running out of games. We're obviously out of the playoff race positions at the moment, and we're probably going to have to win all our remaining games if by some chance we get into the playoffs. So stuff like that. And then we also talked about pre-season. Because obviously I've also been liaising with Liz, who's the football secretary, does a brilliant job at the club about pre-season. We're already in that kind of planning mode. Where are we going in the summer? I think we're going away on the 4th of July. We're going away for 6 days. And the gaffer wants to go to La Manga. He's been there before. It's tried and tested. He knows the resort. He knows the facilities. So we're running through that. I'll talk about that with the gaffer. But then with Liz, I'm talking about numbers and crunching numbers. And she'll tell me it's 40 grand. And I'll say I want it for 30 grand. And there'll be a bit of that going backwards and forwards. Where can we cut off things? Are they being too expensive? When we're there, what's the process? The training facilities up to standards. We go through things like food, training times, organising games when we're over there. Obviously, I'm liaising with Liz, Barry on that kind of stuff. And I do tend to go away pre-season as well. So that's another part of the conversation. Then obviously, I spoke to Barry Fry, who's our director of football. And that's basically an update from Baz on, we've identified already a list of players for next season. That's going to change in the coming couple of months as our season comes to a close, as players prove that they're going to stay or players prove that they're going to need to leave. But we're also identifying positions and players formations the gaffer wants to play next year. So we've identified right now there's a list of like 28. We're not going to sign 28 players. There's a list of like 28 players. You've got 3, as an example, a left back. You got, at the moment, we've got 2 on loan. So we're not going to have a left back in the summer. So at the moment on our list, there's 4 left backs that we're potentially looking to acquire. We need 2 of them out of the 4 that are on the list. We've taken names off the list. We've added names to the list. The reason we've taken them off the list is because we found out players are going to be too expensive. They're not attainable. Their injury records over the last 4 or 5 years aren't good. Stats play a big part in our recruitment, and we want a fit squad. We don't want players with bad injury history, and also it's age definitive as well. So myself and Barry will discuss the players that were on that list that have been formulated. Barry's already had conversations with agents. He's had conversations with clubs about, are you going to let this player go? Are you going to look to sell them? How much are they going to cost? We'll have a transfer fee, rough amount. We'll know roughly what the player's agent wants, and we can start then budgeting, which is a really big part of the process as well. Also, Barry will have conversations with clubs about players that maybe aren't involved with us now, who are looking to move on. And again, we move that along. So we're in the end of March, but these conversations need to happen now, but you want to jump ahead of other people. And there's a couple of very, very good free transfers coming up that we want to, meet the players, get into them. So we need to speak to the agents, the clubs. The gaffer will meet the players like in the coming weeks, those that are out of contract this summer. And when I'm over, I'll possibly meet the players as well. So those conversations are always fun with Barry Fry. We'll talk about too fucking expensive, it's this, it's that, it's whatever, and we bounce ideas across. I go back and say, okay, well, look, they want $500,000 for a player. What if we did this, this, and this? Bloody, bloody, blah. At the same time, I'll also have a check-in with the system I have for our scouting reports from the players that we watched. I'll read the reports. I'll actually watch footage on Y-Scout analysis. Players have been recommended by our internal scouting coaching department, the gaffer, Barry. They'll have gone to the games a couple of days ago. They were Tuesday night games. I think we watched 6 games. So again, I'm going through the reports. I'm reading. I'm doing my own research on the players as well, characters, different things we need to do. So that's all part of the fun and the process. Barry will ring me back 20 minutes later because he's forgotten 2 things he was meant to tell me, and we'll talk about. My wife will look at me and give me, like, he's on the phone again to you, and I go, of course, because this is the way we work. Because all I've said to him, go do this, and he'll have got on the phone to somebody. He rang me, for example, we've got a Premier League club trying to take a 4 to 13-year-old of ours. They've offered us 50 grand. Now we're trying to basically negotiate it up or try and keep the player because he's very talented, because that's the problem with an academy when you're a lower category. You can have your best youngsters absolutely stolen for next to nothing. So that's another conversation. We're talking about Barry meeting the players' parents, convince them to stay instead of going to the Premier League. So there's a little bit of that. Then I get a report off the youth department. We go and read through that. I'll speak through that. I'll email with Nick Shepherd, who's head of the youth. Analysis. I'll get a performance review of the weekend's result, whether they lost or won, as do the partners, and I'll go through that as well. Who else have I been on to from the club today? Spoke to the ticket office, the marketing department by email. Season tickets are up from last year, which is great news. We're talking about ideas. We've got the finance issue that came up yesterday, so we're coming up with plan B and C for that. What else is in there? Most importantly, the financial director, I've been liaising with her today about cash flows at the moment and cash flows for next season. So those things are all moving parts. You try and formulate a cash flow, a plan A and a plan B. Plan A being, God willing, the championship. Plan B being back in League One. How the club is going to be run financially. In other words, what's the deficit going to be for me and the partners to have to put into the club? Is it going to be 2 million, 3 million, whatever it might be? Staggering amounts of money. How do we cut some of that down? How do we include that we're going to have to recruit players and buy players? And who have we got to sell to help make up the shortfall? And if we don't do that, then worst case scenario, myself and the partners have to pony up the money. So that's, again, a moving thing that every week I will check in with the finance director on those little bits and pieces, I'll have a couple of calls from agents. It's really funny, because Barry will speak to the agents as well, as will the gaffer. I'll have agents who I know as well will ring me and they'll try and go around Barry to me. And typical thing, Baz is playing hardball. Can you not do something? I'll tell them to F off. I'll ring Barry and tell them, listen, tell them not to ring me again or waste my time. They always try and go, around mommy to daddy and backwards and forwards. That's just the way it works. But I'll have also agents, good agents we've dealt with who handle our current players. And they'll just be checking in with me going, for example, who do I have on this morning? I had our captain's agent on saying, everything all right? What you're looking at for the summer? We'll speak about their players that they currently handle. How are they doing? Are they good? Are they enjoying it? That's just a normal, typical thing. They're relationships that you just garner over the years and that you have chats with. So I'll probably speak to those agents 3, 4, 5 times every couple, 2, 3 weeks, and they check in. They usually check in after you've won. They stay away when you've lost. So that's always really, really funny. And sometimes agents will ring about players have personal problems and can the club help them out or this or that, whatever. So again, I'll take the conversation on board. I'll speak to the gaffer for advice. I'll go to Barry. I'll speak to Liz. And then I'll probably expect again before the day's over, I'll probably the CEO of the club will ring. That'll be an update and things like the stadium that we're acquiring. So then I'll talk to the partners about that. And in between that, I've counted already. There's 62 emails I've covered off from 8 a.m. this morning until 3 o'clock today that's related to Peterborough United. Also, our lawyers who obviously are on retainer for the club, they check in with us every couple of days. There's a couple of things they were checking in with me today about. Have to answer some emails. And that just gives you an idea. My 7 work hours today so far, I've probably put 4 hours into Peterborough United. And then if I have time, I'll read some of the headlines, the press, check some of the Twitter feeds, check out who's happy, who's not happy, things like that. And obviously I saw that Aaron was in the ticket office ringing fans, so that was good to see. I'll check any videos out. And that's a typical day as a chairman of a football club. A relatively quiet day, relatively no hassle, no alarm bells, nobody's ringing me telling me players are throwing TVs out the windows or someone's found in a nightclub or somebody's done this to their neighbour. Those kind of days I don't like today. These were good conversations today. They're fun conversations. They're the ones you want to have, particularly when you start getting into planning mode for next season. You got to get yourself excited again. Yes, we don't know how this season's going to end, but now that we've got a gaffer in place and a management team in place, there's so much to discuss. So that's just a little tidbit into my life as Peterborough United owner and chairman. I'm over at the club next week. I'm going to be doing a fans forum, a little shout out to Pisa and Ebbs. I'm going to be there. I think it's on... I want to say it's the Thursday night. So I arrive next Friday and it's the following Thursday. I want to say it's the 10th or the 11th. Don't quote me, look it up. I'll be there at like 7:30. I'm bringing the gaffer along. They're going to buy me a few bevies and hopefully we can pack the place out. And we can talk about upcoming events. So that's it in a nutshell. Thought I'd share that video with you. Obviously check out my YouTube channel. Check out the playlist that I'm putting up. They're related to business and to sports. I'm going to do a few little small videos like this related to football. If you're an independent football fan, you want to throw questions out to me that you want me to cover in these little videos about subjects in football, email realdarrenmcantony@gmail.com and I'll happily obviously answer questions and cover them in the next video segment. So that's the end of episode 1, Owning a Football Club. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.